Sankirtana Das, also known as Andy Fraenkel, is a devoted disciple of Srila Prabhupada and a long-time resident of the new Vrindavan Community. He is an award-winning author and storyteller with his recent book Hanuman's Quest, receiving high acclaim from scholars. Additionally, he serves on the board of directors for the Vedic Friends Association and offers sacred storytelling and in-depth tours at New Vrindavan, West Virginia. For more details, visit his work at Mahabharata Project. We are welcoming Sankirtana Prabhu to our first virtual meeting. We are honored to have him with us today. He is an esteemed author and storyteller deeply rooted in Vedic culture, and his insights are very valuable. Sankirtan Prabhu shares his perspective on how we can protect Dharma in Ukraine during these challenging times of war. His guidance will be greatly appreciated by the Ukrainian devotees and their supporters from other countries.
I used to do a lot of multicultural programs to schools and to different places, libraries. And I kind of wore two hats. One is as a multicultural storyteller, and also very often I would also be invited to places, colleges, as a devotee, where I can clearly present Krishna consciousness. So over the last, so many years, I've been doing the professional element of it. So Sacred Voices is not that important of a website. Better to go to Mahabharata Project.
Okay. Yeah, we'll study, because it seems like you've done a lot of services. And Lubomir Prabhu, he's from Moldova. He's a good friend of mine. I'm Dina Bandhu, originally from Ukraine, living in Australia for the last few years. And Lubomir is very interested into studying deeply Varnashram subject. And he probably already shared with you his passion to dive deep into this subject, because there is
We've
not
been
much information.
over a year now, I think.
Yeah.
But my main thing now, because in the past I've been doing theater in the movement, also college preaching, also interfaith dialogue. But my main thing now, like you said, is finding out how to build bridges and showing the general public how Krishna consciousness can be relevant. What does the Dharma mean, and how is it relevant to the present day situations, whatever people find themselves in? And so, the situation in the Ukraine is especially important because the Dharma is very relevant. If somebody attacks your home, then you have a perfect right under Dharmic principles to defend yourself. And so the aggressor are considered the villain, and the defenders are considered the heroes. So it's not a matter of devotee or non-devotee. The Dharmic principles are, that's the standard across society. It doesn't matter. Oh, is this meant for devotees, or is it meant for the general public? So Prabhupada says that just like the sun is shining. He compares the sun to the Dharma. So everybody's experiencing the sun, whether it's in India or in Japan or in the America. The sun is being available. It's shedding its heat. It's shedding light. So the same way, Dharma is available for everyone. It's not just for devotees, not just for Hindus. Prabhupada never referred to it as Hindu Dharma. Some people do that, but never Prabhupada, and I don't do that either.
I have a question, Sankirtana Prabhu. Can
Mhm.
you share a light on the common understanding or misunderstanding, I would say, about that devotees of Krishna are not into politics? And sometimes I
Mhm.
can hear that as devotees, we are into Sanatana Dharma, not just in a sort of general Dharma. So we shouldn't be involved in any politics. I can hear some devotees saying, there is no actually war because we are on a spiritual platform, so we should not be even talking about the war. We only should be concerned about our Krishna consciousness. So what would you reply to this?
Well, this is kind of like a conspiracy mentality. Of course, you know, I I understand if the devotees are concerned. For instance, if ISKCON or the leaders of ISKCON begin speaking out against the unjust war in an attack in the Ukraine, you see that might jeopardize the preaching by the devotees in Russia. That might jeopardize their good standing. I don't know what the standing is. It seems that they're preaching freely in Russia. And so, the movement doesn't want to do anything that even to support the Ukrainian devotees and to support the efforts there. Would that mean jeopardizing the Krishna conscious efforts in Russia? So, in one sense, it's a very delicate balance. I can understand why they don't want to speak up. On the other hand, there are many devotees that are just making foolish and nonsensical statements. And, I'm not going to support their foolishness either. So, but I can understand the position of ISKCON and the senior management and how they have to maneuver delicately through this situation.
Yeah, that's understandable. See, Prabhu, in this case, all the general devotees or general public, when they don't hear certain like clear definition on what's happening since the 2 years ago when the full-scale invasion happened, they start speculating. They start to submitting their own understanding of the situation, and unfortunately, we can see that so many Russian devotees, they are under impression that that war is not against Ukraine. It's America who are fighting using Ukraine as a
Mhm.
field for a battle between two worlds, like
Yeah.
it used to be in the Cold War time. And in this scenario, it doesn't mean who is dying. Like Ukrainian lives are not considered important. So when we hear this from devotees, we are offended, we're surprised, we try to speak with them, but unfortunately, within 2 years, we haven't had any successful dialogues with them. And even on their level of GBC, you probably heard it that some of the Russian leaders, they are sending devotees officially. They made a statement that it's your duty to go to this war because that's the law of the country, and you should be submitted to this. Um, so can I ask you how much information do you have about that situation amongst devotees, not in general, because it's always on the news, although lately it's sort of decreasing the interest to this war. People are tired about this. But what do you know exactly? What's happening between two big yatras, Ukrainian and Russian yatra?
This is the first I've heard about the dynamics of what's going on from you, and I'm very surprised that the devotees would buy in to this type of propaganda. Putin is a very shrewd personality. He started the propaganda years ago to first attack or to access what is that part of the Ukraine that's
Donbass region, Crimea.
Yeah,
It was
Crimea.
Crimea first, and then Donbass region.
Yes, and so this is a very fertile. He wants access to the ocean, and he also wants access to the fertile land. There's so much growth of the wheat and the grains, and people should know that in one sense you have to have your own propaganda machine, and unfortunately at this point you're only reacting to their propaganda. You see,
Yeah.
you're reacting. You're not proactive in creating your own propaganda. And I can understand that, because why should there be propaganda especially amongst devotees? It doesn't make any sense. Why can't they have a Prabhupada said that the basis of the relationships of the devotees are based on love and trust. He used that term several times, love and trust. So, in one sense, we shouldn't need any propaganda. That's a political device. And we should be having an intelligent exchange. So, whoever this is who's encouraging devotees to fight and to send people into battle, in attacking as the aggressor. I've put down some comments.
Okay.
You may have read these already. I have it in one of my articles, I think, but Prabhupada says defending is also required. Defend yourself, not to encroach upon others' property. Just like people are sending soldiers in other country. Why? You defend your country. So he's saying, Prabhupada is saying, don't make the effort to send warriors to attack another country. You have a right to defend your country. And so Prabhupada goes on, you defend your own country. That's all right. You defend your home. That is not prohibited. The Shastras allow it. If somebody comes to encroach upon your property, you kill them immediately. That is said, but not kill unnecessarily. And so,
where that quote comes from?
This is the conversation in San Francisco on April 1st, 1969. And so here Prabhupada makes a very definitive statement. This is the essential in Dharma. You can't attack somebody else. That's not your business, is to attack and be the aggressor upon somebody else. Your business and your rightful Dharma is to defend your country. But
Prabhu, Sankirtan, can I ask you, during your period serving within ISKCON, I presume it's roughly about 50 years doing service within the society. Have you had any experiences when devotees actually defended themselves?
Yes, here in New Vrindavan in 1973. New Vrindavan was attacked by a gang of like motorcycle guys. They were looking for, the leader was looking for his daughter. There was the impression, whether it's factual, I don't know. The daughter came to New Vrindavan. I don't know if she stayed, but the leader was very angry. They came. with guns. They shot up a couple of devotees who were wounded. One devotee that they couldn't extract the bullet from him. It was next to his spine, and a year or two later he died of lead poisoning. And so not only did they attack the devotees, but they also threw down the deities. They threw down Krishna on the altar, and then they threw down Radharani. And the amazing thing is that Radharani when she fell to the floor, she made such an unusual sound that everyone was startled. All of these guys were startled, and they became bewildered all of a sudden, and they immediately left after Radharani fell to the ground and made this unusual sound. And so after that event, that's in June of 1973, Prabhupada told the devotees here in New Vrindavan to arm themselves and to, don't allow anyone to attack the temple. They need to arm themselves. So there's a personal experience right here. Also, I may have a quote from someplace else. Prabhupada actually, during his time, Kashmir was attacked. I think the Pakistanis came over across the border and attacked Kashmir. And Prabhupada said that they should defend themselves. People that are attacking Kashmir are demons. So he called the attackers demons. And so this is very clearly defined. There are 6 aggressors, and one of them is those people that are going to attack your home or destroy your home. They are aggressors, and there's no question in the Dharmic principles. I'm not talking about Sanatan Dharma, but there are Dharmic principles, and this is why Prabhupada, in the last year of his life in 1977, he encouraged the devotees to establish the Varnashram system. So the Varnashram system is a practical way to introduce the Dharma into people's lives. And so this is a very practical and easy application according to time and circumstances and situations, how to apply the Dharma. Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is 95% common sense. There's no politics, no strange reasons, bizarre reasons. Putin made some bizarre reason that, there are Nazis or fascists in the Ukraine and we have to attack and destroy them. So this is just the typical mentality to create a reason why you need to attack. Hitler did this with the Reichstag in the 1930s. He probably burned down the Reichstag and then he blamed it on the communists or whoever, and then they were able to attack their enemy without restriction. They made a condition that they used as an excuse to be able to attack. So this is going on all the time. I saw part of Putin's propaganda film that was made by this film director Stone.
Yeah.
Oliver Stone.
He became a big fan of the Russian dictator for some reason.
Yes, but many people think that Oliver Stone made and directed the film, but he didn't. He was only a tool. He interviewed Putin, and he was given some sort of a credit in the film, maybe as some sort of an executive
An
producer.
advisor. Okay.
It he didn't make the movie. He only interviewed Putin. So the idea is this: that Putin is already thinking 10 years ahead of. This was made years earlier, and it created a situation that allowed him eventually to become the aggressor on Ukraine and the Crimean. So as soon as if you real leaders, if as soon as they see something like this, then they're going to immediately respond, because the thing is this, that Ukraine and Russia are distinct cultures.
It
Even
is.
Russia back in 1933 started to rob so much wheat from Ukraine. I forget, there's a name for that era.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you're
My
familiar.
my grandmother, she used to tell the stories about this. It's called Holodomor.
Okay, yes, that's the
Yeah.
name of the incident. And so people don't know about that. That here, Russia, if Russia considered everything one country, why are they robbing people, and people can't even feed themselves and they're taking it to Russia? So obviously, it's not one country. The Russians prove that. So, and there's even a statue. Isn't there a statue
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Kiev or
Yeah.
someplace where
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a girl with some grains? So, people don't know about don't know about these things. You know that that's a wonderful statue. It's a very girl carrying some grain. So, in one sense, you have to, if that's what they're doing to you, the devotees, then in one sense, you have to get into the fray and, document this. So people are very stupid. That's why Prabhupada didn't want, he always talked about democracy. It didn't work. Even Socrates and Plato, they were not big fans of democracy, because the thing is, people can be uh, misled very easily. Most
Yeah.
people don't want to do the research. Most people are just listening to the dictates of the leaders around them. And then they say, oh, yes, I've done the research. But no, they're just listening to people. They're tuning in to channels or news outlets that they agree with, or that agree with them. So it's just a circle, and it excludes all other reasoning. So this is what Putin created 10 years ago to prepare himself for this aggression. And so the in one sense, uh, devotees, in one sense, have to get out some talking points, other than just the normal Krishna conscious points. We th- this is, how can I say, this this is, unfortunately, this is a relevant issue that has to be addressed properly.
We
Otherwise,
heard one of the prominent sannyasis. I wouldn't mention his name. 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, just in the beginning of this war, he made a video stating that Putin will overtake Ukraine very easily. You shouldn't be even worrying. And soon everyone will forget about this. How humanity forgot already about other big wars. Devotees shouldn't be even worrying. They should live elsewhere on the countryside and it doesn't matter for them who is ruling their country. They just do their own business. So you shouldn't be worrying. And that was said by one of the sannyasis, and it's actually was so bewildering and quite offensive towards devotees, because by that time we already experienced a few deaths happening in Ukraine, and then the number was going up, and by now we can tell you definitely that 28 devotees have died fighting on the front line, and also more than 100, like 110 devotees are still fighting. So those are numbers.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
One thing is you need to get more, you need to have a man like Anuttama, who's the communication director for the Ukrainian Yatra. So
Yeah, we try to communicate with Anuttama Prabhu, and he is very professionally escaping all these subjects. Devotees wrote numerous letters to the GBC Executive Committee through the Anuttama, through the other Maharajas. It never actually reached to the GBC, although they got the information. They never openly discussed this subject during the previous two GBC meetings, and now we actually don't know what will be happening next in terms of the moral support from GBC, because we haven't even heard, like in private conversations, support from the GBC. We've been in touch with the several senior devotees like yourself, and we've been told what you should do is just create a buzz, just record facts as you mentioned, and don't stop talking about this. And myself, Lubomir Prabhu, and a few other devotees, we've been trying to document things, try to speak publicly about this issue, and seems like a few devotees are getting in touch with us. And then Lubomir saw your beautiful article in ISKCON News, although you openly not stating about conflict between Russia and Ukraine. You put some images of destroyed cities there, and we would like to thank you for bringing up this issue. And I'm sure many devotees understood what actually was the message through this article. Can you tell us what actually inspired you to write this article right now?
Well, a lot of it, again, what I'm trying to do is make Krishna consciousness relevant to the general public. And to do that, you can't just talk about philosophy. To make it relevant, you got to talk about issues where it's important to understand how Dharmic principles are impacting the various things that are going around in the world. How does the Dharma apply? First of all, you have to talk about the Dharma, and then also Prabhupada wanted to establish the Varnashram system. So this goes hand in hand, to establish the Dharma and to present the Varnashram system. So earlier you mentioned that some sannyas who had his opinion that, it doesn't matter who rules Ukraine. And, that's kind of like a just, brushing off the whole idea of Dharma, because that's that sannyasi's opinion, but we're interested in Prabhupada's opinion. We're not interested in some general, we're interested in opinions based on Shastra and based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. That's what we're interested in, not just some random guy walking off the street and doesn't know anything. So you need to create, and Prabhupada's opinion is, if somebody comes to encroach upon your property, you kill them immediately. That's Prabhupada's opinion. And that's the opinion of Dharma. There's in the Bhagavad Gita, there's in one purport, Prabhupada talks about, and he talks about this elsewhere, that there are 6 aggressors, and each of those aggressors need to be dealt with. This is a dharmic principle. So, in one sense, we're saying Prabhupada wants to introduce Varnashram system, but with the Varnashram system, hand in hand, is how does the Dharma function? What type of protection is the Varnashram system and the principles of Dharma? What type of protection are people supposed to have according to the Varnashram, according to Dharma? And so then all of a sudden, then when we make specific applications, then people then they see how relevant it is and how important it is. Otherwise, the Krishna consciousness philosophy is kind of just above people's heads. And here we actually make it something that's very pertinent.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that in the modern age war, there is no way that war can go according the Dharmic rules when only kshatriyas fight amongst each other. And unfortunately, that's happening in Israel and it's happening in Ukraine as well.
Well, the Hamas are total cowards. You know, they're taking shelter in hospitals and behind in various situations. They surround themselves with innocent people. So, you know, on one sense, you know, the Israelis may say, oh, well, what can we do? This is the fault of Hamas, that they're using hospitals and they're using these facilities to for their efforts. So you're right. It's an impossible situation, but at least the devotees have to. This is an opportunity for devotees to make the Dharma. You know, maybe there are some. There's no black and white, situation. But this is an opportunity for the devotees to present the Dharma and to present Varnashram system.
Prabhu, can I ask you a question? That's a beautiful name, building bridges for Krishna, and it's a little bit provocative question. Okay,
Sure.
Why ISKCON or devotees took so long to build those bridges, and why you think now is the most relevant time for building those bridges?
Well, this is the second half of Prabhupada's mission. Nobody has taken that seriously. And it's easy to, it's easy for the movement and for devotees personally to become complacent. Once you have a situation like in the Ukraine, that complacency evaporates. You can't be complacent. You have to take action, and you have to take sides. You cannot be complacent. And so more and more, we have to take sides. It's just, there is what is called Dharma and Adharma. There is Vidya and Avidya. These things have to be established. We have to learn in Sri Upanishad, it's explained that we have to understand these things side by side. what is Dharma and what is against Dharma, what is Vidya, what is knowledge, and what is the fake news, so to speak. So
Sankirtana Prabhu, I would like just to step in. The problem is that like the most part, the majority of our preachers, they preach that devotees should be neutral. You know, they say we should.
Like I said at the beginning, they do that because they don't want to jeopardize. What if the Hari, okay, we're going to go with the efforts in Ukraine, but then that jeopardizes the preaching in Russia and puts the devotees in Russia at risk. So you have to find, the Russian devotees can't buy into Putin's propaganda. But of course, in Russia, that's the name of the game. He's like the dictator. You can't work around Putin.
Yeah, Sankirtana Prabhu, the thing is, well, I would like, to disagree with you a little bit regarding that argument. Yeah, why? Because almost 40 religious confessions in Ukraine, they issued public statements condemning Putin's terror in Ukraine. And these were Catholics, Baptists, all of them, practically all religious confessions in Ukraine, they issued a joint public statement openly calling Putin's aggression as terror, as a dharma, and condemning it, But not a single church was closed for that in Russia.
I see. That's a good point.
That's the first. Practically all main religious confessions in Ukraine already did that 2 years ago. Only Hare Krishnas and Jehovah Witnesses didn't do it. So obviously Ukrainian society has some questions. How come you don't you don't condemn it, you don't have a public statement, and you don't openly during classes, lectures, you don't you don't condemn it, whereas other religious confessions, they do it every day practically. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Russian ISKCON is a totally separate legal entity. They have their own management, they have their own charter, they have their own legal
organization.
Organization, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. What is what are you talking about? What legal organization are you talking about? Their own what?
They are not registered as the International Society Krishna.
In Russia.
Krishna Consciousness. In Russia. They have slightly different name. They don't depend on the international organization as such.
Yeah, so they have their own leadership, their own body, of
governing.
Governing. Yeah, so they're different legal entity. Officially, they're like independent from international ISKCON. So that's the second reason why, if GBC or some even sannyasis, if they publicly condemn it, nothing will happen to Russian ISKCON because it's a different organization. And the third reason is that the majority of Russian ISKCON leaders, they support Putin's aggression. They not only support it, they actively participate in Putin's projects in conquered territories, in the Donbas territory, Food for Life. Russian ISKCON has its own Food for Life program. So they go to Donbass area and to the newly, conquered territories, and together with Russian military, they distribute food, and they have very good, and friendly relationship with the head of Putin's administration, Kiriyenko. And they openly talk about it during Srimad Bhagavatam classes.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's an open public information that Russian ISKCON has very deep and good connections with the Russian government.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if GBC or any sannyasi, any preacher in the West condemns Putin's aggression, it in no way, in absolutely no way, it will have any effect on the relationship between Russian ISKCON and the government, because they already are very good friends. Imagine we are good friends with you, and I have Dinabanko Prabhu who talks bad about you. How it will affect our relationship. I can say it's his own opinion. I don't support it.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah. So there are other reasons. Russian devotees, they go to the front. They go to the army. We didn't count. I don't know. We don't have any exact number.
It's about 10. They actually try to hide all the numbers. They don't talk publicly about this. So at least 10. We know about 10 names, and some of them are initiated devotees.
Yeah, so they post, their videos and photos from the front. Some of them in
Social media.
Social media, yeah. So it's also an open information. Another reason why GBC and all our preachers and sannyasis must publicly condemn it, because Russian devotees, they listen to Russian leaders, preachers of ISKCON, who tell them that it's your duty. And they go to the army and they die and they kill and they participate in terror, dharma, and they are engaged in sinful activity. So until somebody from GBC or I don't know, Anutama Prabhu or ISKCON, some kind of spiritual leader openly condemns this aggression, Russian devotees will go to the army, they will shoot Ukrainians, they will participate in Russian terror, and nobody will tell them that it's wrong. Nobody tells them that it's wrong. They hear during Srimad Bhagavatam classes that it's all right, that they should do it. Do you understand the situation? So as long as ISKCON leaders keep silence, devotees in Russia die. They, they become.
Are these classes that are actively supporting the Russian effort? Are they on online someplace?
Yes, we've got a record of dozens of them. If you're interested, Lubomir can provide you with quite a few links to that information.
I'm just trying to understand the dynamics of this.
Yes, it's not that they do it openly all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like they put everything on YouTube. I'm sure that there are classes that they don't put on YouTube because they understand, the consequences. But in any way, that's the situation. Due to silence of ISKCON leaders, devotees in Russia, they die, and devotees in Ukraine, they get killed. And also 4 temples in Ukraine were bombed, you know, and destroyed in some degree or the other. So silence of ISKCON leaders actually kills, because if they openly condemned it, I'm sure there would be much less number of Russian devotees who would go to the front and die. You know, so choosing even in the case that if some sannyasi or preacher, you know, condemns Putin's aggression and Putin decides to close ISKCON temples, what is more valuable, ISKCON temple or lives of devotees?
Mm-hmm.
I can add from myself, as I've had quite close relationships with Russian devotees, like 30 plus years, being friend with quite a few nice devotees, and I can't understand why at this point the Putin's propaganda made them sort of turn everything upside down. And those devotees, they began sending very strange messages to me and devotees like myself, trying to convince us that, you know, Putin does only good. And I hear it from devotees who practice so many years, leading Bhakti Shastri courses, even Bhakti Vaibhava courses. So I was forced to just stop associating with those devotees. And I'm just wondering why they're so easily bought all this propaganda. I can't understand this.
Yeah, this is the first time that I'm hearing the true scope of the situation from you both, and thank you for sharing that. And one of the things I was thinking about, you know, there's a strong Russian community in Mayapur. Are there any Ukrainian devotees there in Mayapur?
Yeah, quite a few. See, they try to be very sort of strategically correct. They call the community of Russian devotees in Ukrainian and devotees from Belarus, Moldova, Russian-speaking devotees. They call it like this. So they try to unite them, which is nice. And officially, there is a nice and peaceful community there, working under guidance of ISKCON management. And there is no record of fighting, like physical fighting, but underground there's a few devotees who are still making propaganda, even in Mayapur. And recently has been recorded a case of unpresidential crime happened in Mayapur. I would call it crime, when the Putin's election was officially held on the Mayapur property, and they had a booth where when devotees can come and vote for Putin on the Mayapur premises, 300 meters away from Prabhupada Samadhi. There was a booth where devotees were coming and giving their voices for Putin. And the same thing happened in Vrindavan, actually, as well on the ISKCON property. This situation is unprecedented. And when we approached the leaders and asked how come that happened, they can't give us an answer. They said, well, is it real? Is it actually happened? We said, yes, here's the videos and here's the testimonials. And we never got back any sane explanation about this.
That's very bizarre. People nowadays, you know, just there needs to be, you know, especially with devotees, this is supposed to be a transcendental movement, and transcendental relationships based on love and trust. So, but devotees are eagerly listening to some outside forces rather than the dynamics of their own transcendental God brothers and God sisters. So there's also somebody just recently told me that there's also a strong community in Chicago. A lot of Ukrainian devotees have gone to Chicago, and the Russian devotees are also in Chicago. What where is the place where you need to begin to dialogue. But if there's no dialogue going on, if it's only politics, then how can anything move forward?
Yeah, then
And
naturally devotees are having dialogues. It's not that bad.
okay.
And especially in North American yatra, there's always even mixed families. For example, Lubomir, his wife is from Ukraine. He's from Moldova. Same thing in the U.S. and other countries. In Germany, for example, devotees are still associating nicely. They do service together. They perform kirtans. But unfortunately, some of the prominent Russian preachers, they are coming to Europe. They are coming to the North America, and they hold public programs. Maybe within last year, they stopped talking openly about Putin or greatness of the Russia as source of they call it the golden age, and they've been pushing that idea that the world will be saved only by by Russia.
Well,
Seriously,
maybe Russian devotees.
make
Prabhupada,
Russia great again. That's this sort of thing.
we have to make an example of how devotees can relate well, and this is the crucial element, making a good example for the world at large on how devotees can relate and cooperate effectively. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you so much. That's a great advice, Prabhu, and thank you so much for your time. Trying to be useful and start this conversation. In reality, you would be surprised. Not so many devotees agree to talk about those subjects. Sometimes they say, "I just don't have time for this. The life is
Mhm.
so short. I don't have time for this, or I don't have a mental energy to
Mhm.
spend thinking about this."
You see, Sankirtana Prabhu, the issue here is also that many devotees, and also we do hear such kind of preaching line that devotees are above Varnashrama Dharma. Krishna said, leave all the dharma and just surrender to me. And Lord Chaitanya said, just chant, Varnashrama is impossible, just chant Hare Krishna, and that's it. We don't owe anything to the society.
Uh-huh.
Let's just chant, go to Sunday programs, to the temple, read Srila Prabhupada's books, and that's it. That's our Sanatana Dharma. We don't need this Varnashrama Dharma because devotees are above
All the
above all
ca-
the caste.
caste system.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
want to introduce caste system anymore.
we're not caste. Varnashram system is not caste. But anyways, you brought up a good point over here. And so the idea is that Krishna only explains to Arjuna, give up all varieties of Dharma. He's talking to somebody who's been following the Dharma. And so if people can't follow the Dharma, then, and if people are not interested in Krishna consciousness, at least bring them up to the platform of Dharma. That's the
The
mission.
question is, Sankirtana Prabhu, how can devotees bring somebody to the platform of Dharma if they don't care for Dharma themselves, if they don't follow Dharma
Did I say
themselves?
Dharma? I meant Dharma.
Dharma, yeah.
Yeah.
How can we bring somebody to Dharma if we don't follow Dharma ourselves? We think only chanting and going to the temple is enough. How
Well,
can we teach somebody
Bro,
else to
this is
follow
the second
Dharma?
half of my movement. This is the second half of my movement to establish the Varnashram system, which is based on Dharma. So Prabhupada, the first half of Prabhupada's movement was to develop a Brahminical class that can abide by these principles and propagate these principles. The second half of the movement is maybe people in the world in general can't come up to Krishna consciousness, but at least they understand that people have to live by some basic principles of goodness to be peaceful in society and to prosper in society. That's what in the third chapter this is explained, that in the dawn of creation, Vishnu explains, I sent forth generations of men and demigods and blessed them by saying, and sacrifices, and bless them by, be thou happy by these sacrifices. So, of course, those sacrifices, we're not promoting rituals and sacrifices, but we are promoting this is the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name. That's what we want to promote. We're not promoting all of these Vedic rituals and sacrifices. And these are, many of these things are found in the Manu Samhita. But, that's not our business. Our business is to gradually elevate people so they come to the mode of goodness, and then they begin to understand what Krishna consciousness is. So in Bhakti Tirtha years ago, we were having a discussion. Unfortunately, he was such a wonderful devotee, and he also recognized that he appreciated the way I was thinking about building bridges, and he said to me, "When you build a bridge, make sure that Krishna is on the other side of the bridge." So we're not interested in building bridges to Vedic rituals and customs and sacrifices. We're building bridges to make sure that Krishna, he's on the other side of that bridge.
But again, Sankirtana Prabhu, how can we teach the society Dharma if devotees are not interested in Dharma?
The thing is,
how can we teach something that we don't follow and actually practice in our everyday life?
Dharma? There's Dharma. We're following the Dharma every day. There's 4 principles of Dharma: cleanliness, compassion. There's no gambling. These are the 4 pillars of Dharma. These are the 4 legs of the mother cow. These are practical things that we're doing every day. And so these principles are universal principles that we need to help people recognize these principles of Dharma. We call them the 4 regulative principles of devotional service. But people are not going to follow the 4 regulations of the Hare Krishna people, but people will follow the 4 principles of Dharma. They're the same thing, but they have to, be presented. It's all how you present something, and it's all how inspired you are to present something. So even if nobody else is doing it, then
but the basic definition of Dharma is doing one's duty, following one's duty. So in this regard, I was saying that devotees are not interested in following their duty, as a member of society and so on. We consider ourselves above it. We don't owe anything to the society. Moreover, well, in the area where I live and in Ukraine, devotees are not really engaged in any, context or interaction with the society. You see, maximum is we just chant, we distribute prasadam, food for life. That's it.
That's fine. That's perfectly wonderful, and that's but we all have different visions. We all have little bit different visions. We're all unique individuals. We have our own. Prabhupada uses that term "in like a needle." So that needle may be a little different for me than it is for you and you. So we all have to find our own needle. How can we interject Krishna consciousness into society based on our own realizations? We have to have some realizations, and we have to have some passions. And through those passions, you don't reject. When I came to the movement, I gave up my theater ambitions, but then later on I thought, well, my theater ambitions are not bad. I just need to redirect them. So here in Vrindavan, for many years, I developed a theater project and performed for so many thousands of people. So we have to find our own individual needle. Means what is your interest? What is my interest? We all have different interests. Like, for instance, over the last 20 years, my theater propensities have been used in developing dramatic storytelling programs that I make a profession out of. And I've met many, I'm a member, I've met many other storytellers in West Virginia. And there's a storytelling guild, West Virginia Storytelling Guild. And so these people know who I am. They know my background. Some of them have even been to New Vrindavan, and I've showed them around here in New Vrindavan. And one of the storytellers has even been my guest here for a few days. So we're all, maybe because of the situation in Ukraine at this present moment, you can't do that right now. But, previously there was a lot of activity, devotional activity, and the public appreciated the devotees. And Ukraine is a very sophisticated culture itself. And, there's pictures of Ukraine before the war, and they're very beautiful. And like I mentioned earlier, there's the history that hardly anybody knows of about the Russia robbing the wheat from the Ukraine, and people are starving in the Ukraine in the 1930s. So, all of that has to be put into, maybe like you've already done that. I don't know to what extent you've done that, but the way you connect with people nowadays is not through philosophy. Most people are not interested in philosophy. And so if you've gotten 20 endorsements from people all over the world, those are just on a piece of paper. You need to get experiences from the Ukrainian devotees themselves and share. There has to be some emotional element there. People nowadays relate to emotional elements and elements. What is my story? What is your story?
Yeah.
They don't want to hear your philosophy. They want to hear your story. And within the story, maybe there's a little philosophy. That's great. So, you have to kind of like set aside all of these different things that we've been conditioned to. Devotees have a conditioned way of presenting the philosophy. You might as well, throw that out the windows. We have to, and that's I'm racking my brains. How, and somebody mentioned to me that you have a lot of articles. Why don't you put them in a book where they're all located in one place? And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, what is the theme of my articles? And the theme is making Krishna consciousness relevant. How can it be relevant to people in general? And so it's, I have my particular interests. We all have our own particular interests. And so utilizing those interests, utilizing the dynamics of Krishna consciousness, what does it mean for Krishna consciousness to be relevant in other people's lives?
Is your book already being published, or it's
no.
on the way?
Now I just have so many different articles on Dandavats, on ISKCON News. I've written, over, I don't know, 20, at least 20 articles. So somebody's saying, well, why don't you put them all together in a book? I haven't compiled the book yet. Somebody recently suggested that to me, that, I don't want to search all over the internet. It's nice to have it all in one place, because the nature of the articles, the theme is, so it's how to make Krishna consciousness relevant. So it's good for the general public, but it's also good as an example that some of the talking points that we're discussing, how for devotees, how can they move forward with this theme in mind, making Krishna consciousness relevant? And so we're all involved in different situations. Krishna has put the devotees in the Ukraine in a horrific situation. I feel I'm living a comfortable life here in New Vrindavan.
Here for me,
Yeah. So, but I feel, even though, I'm situated okay for myself, but that's not enough. Krishna consciousness is not meant to create a comfortable situation for ourselves, is to get out and figure out. Prabhupada says we have to rack our brains how to make this relevant. So we have to be a good example. So you were saying that nobody's interested. The devotees aren't interested in just following the mundane Dharma. But if we're not an example, how do we expect other people to come up to that platform? Yeah. Anyways, I love this conversation, and I think we need to continue the conversation and share that with other devotees. And it's an open discussion. Everyone should be able to apply Krishna consciousness into whatever situation Krishna gives them. Unfortunately, sometimes Krishna is giving us different situations. I've had my difficulties also. Over the years, I've had a massive heart attack, and then I've had another heart attack. So I have to be very careful, and I'm dealing with other health issues. So Krishna is putting everyone into their own unique situations that they have to deal with. Even the Pandavas, they were Krishna's friends, they were Krishna's relatives. Krishna didn't make it easy for the Pandavas. He banished them into exile. So, we have to expect unusual circumstances in our lives. And we have to say, in this circumstance that Krishna is putting me in, how can I best serve Krishna? That's
a great advice, Prabhu. Anyway, Prabhu, we don't want to hold you for such a long time. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we'll be in touch, definitely.
Thank you for sharing your experiences and your concerns, and it's my pleasure to help you out in some way. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your support. Hare Krishna, Sankirtana.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.